Saudi Arabia, Israel, Kuwait, Russia, Qatar. I could keep on going on and on and on. A major question about whether Jeffrey Epstein was an unregistered foreign agent for these and other countries, notably countries that Donald Trump has done not just a lot of business in, but a lot of quid pro quos while he's been in office. Now, Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin, the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, is making a formal demand right now on Todd Blanche, still the acting AG Todd Blanche, to turn over documents and records regarding Epstein's foreign entanglements, which Blanche has not produced. Now, a few ways that Blanche and the DOJ are covering up these documents. And a lot of this has actually been exposed, hat tip to MeidasTouch host Katie Fang. The Trump regime DOJ says they're not producing documents in foreign languages. They've created a foreign language exception that it's too costly and difficult for them to translate. So they're not even going to make them public. Red flag, red flag. And then also they have made claims of deliberative process privilege. They've claimed things as classified. They've made claims of executive privilege. And because the Trump DOJ in their cover-up of the Epstein files don't provide a privilege or redaction log that lists the specific documents, we have no clue from the 3 to 4 million documents that we know are being withheld. That could be a lot more than that. And those documents can have multiple pages. So there could be potentially 20 to 30 million pages being withheld if one document is a multi-page document. But the Trump regime is not listing why they're withholding. They just wrote a letter previously that was like, here are the basic grounds, trust me, bro. And you probably have heard Katie Fang on the MeidasTouch network saying that's not a good position. When there's a law like the Epstein Transparency Act, the trust me, bro thing is not a thing. And I think given Trump escalating this catastrophic war in Iran, obviously Donald Trump's entanglements with countries like Qatar, which served as the purported mediator of the MOU that Donald Trump tore apart, Saudi Arabia, where the United States has military bases, and Saudi Arabia recently struck Yemen, where the Houthis controlled an airport in the Houthi-controlled area. And now the Houthis say they've shut down the Bab el-Mandab Strait for Saudi tankers, where you see entanglements in Kuwait, where we know that U.S. has lots of military bases and that Iran has struck Kuwait because the U.S. launches its HIMARS and others from Kuwait into Iran. Russia, we know that Kash Patel said, we're going to be taking a trip to Russia. We're going to be basically speaking with the entity that used to be the KGB that now runs the Russian security service. That's what we're going to do right before the midterm elections. Kash Patel is going to Russia. Russia. And when you look through the Epstein files, whether it was the document that talked about torturing girls, which we believe, based on at least a lot of the public reporting, was a Middle East leader or ruler, who was involved in that one with Epstein, whether it's Epstein doing arms deals in the area, whether it's Epstein speaking with other intermediaries about Putin and others. This is important, weighty stuff. And, it seems that the way that, am I giving you my opinion, the way Donald Trump wields tariffs around the world and quid pro quo deals has some commonalities, in my opinion. I'm just giving you my opinion as protected by the First Amendment, as also the way Epstein used blackmail and used his leverage points in order to enrich himself. It's a different strategy, but the playbook of creating leverage with the same types of foreign leaders, to me, is something that should be explored, but the Trump regime ain't producing those records. Now, I'll bring in Harry Litman from the Talking Feds YouTube channel, Substack, and podcast. Now, Harry, I don't think any of us are believing that Todd Blanche intends to produce these documents ever. Todd Blanche will continue to cover them up. We heard him at that godforsaken confirmation hearing that he was at, which, by the way, the Epstein survivors have now reached out to Tom Tillis, senator from North Carolina, and Senator Cornyn from Texas, to express to them, because they're the swing votes here, that Blanche further traumatized them when he held a meeting with the survivors. I mean, just think about it, that's what a horrible person Blanche is. He couldn't even try to keep it together when he was in a meeting with the Epstein survivors. But Jamie Raskin, I think, is giving us a preview into what a Democratic-controlled Judiciary Committee is going to look like. And I think he's putting the marker down now to follow up afterwards, knowing that it'll be denied now. And then he'll say, hopefully in January, hey, enough is enough. Now we're bringing formal action against you. What do you make of it, Harry?
I think that's right, Ben, because Raskin is writing as a member of the Judiciary Committee. He's in the minority now, so you won't see them green lighting subpoenas and the like. But that committee has jurisdiction over the act that requires people to register as foreign agents. And the letter really gives, a lot of smoke at a minimum, except when we've seen a lot of smoke before, at least raised by Raskin and other Democrats. The response from the administration has been smoke. What smoke? This is Jeffrey Epstein. Every time there's been a little hole and we've dug, it's gone deeper and deeper. We have in this letter, Epstein just running to hustle up money from just before into Trump's first term, writing people and saying this Trump stuff gives me a lot to do, different activities with different foreign governments. And, this has been the stock in trade of Trump buddies, not to mention Trump. But think about Paul Manafort or just others in his circle. That's what they did. And in fact, the charge of being a foreign agent and not registering, which seems a little technical, but it's not. It's because you want to know who is out there trying to lobby and what their interests are. That's really what could be brought to the fore. Now, I think it's very possible. This is a whole different Epstein, extra area of activity. So they can probably construe the Epstein Transparency Act not to require production. I think, however, that it's some of these documents that tipped Raskin to what's going on in a whole other cluster. And of course, I think you're right that even if they get a subpoena, Todd Blanche and company will try to smother, bury, or who knows, maybe even challenge in court and listen to what the court says, because of course it's embarrassing. We know from way back when even before, but certainly when it came time to pass the Epstein Transparency Act, Trump eventually signed it, but he was dead set against it. He woodshedded his allies who were ready to support it. There was some reason he really, really, really didn't want that act to pass. And I think one possibility is there's more there in the 2 million documents that we haven't seen that ties him to Epstein, but it might be there's other stuff that ties him to Epstein, and it certainly would stand to reason from what we know about the two men that something like this and sort of unsavory and not on the up and up kind of business interests with countries, just as you name. Raskin ends with a dozen different countries, but let's just start with Saudi Arabia. I mean, that could really be important, disturbing, and go straight to the current occupant of the Oval Office. So your bottom line point, this is one thing they'll do if they have the gavel. Until now, you have this very hard-hitting and well documented letter from Raskin. And if the majority and the Judiciary Committee now doesn't let it go forward, obviously it's there at the ready if and when the House changes hands. So, Jeffrey Epstein, foreign agents, Donald Trump, Russia, Saudi Arabia, et cetera, et cetera. As a prosecutor, I'm not saying there's a crime there yet, but it's pretty easy to posit after all we've seen that there's some stuff that they got some splaining to do, and and the Judiciary Committee is entirely within its rights in looking into. And I agree with you. Raskin has basically served notice. Come November or January, if I'm in the chair, here's subpoenas coming your way.
I often hear on corporate news, they'll, have a guest on who raises a lot of the red flags about Donald Trump. And then they'll say, but there's nothing that suggests that Donald Trump did X, Y, and Z, my response is always, let's just talk about what we know is the undisputed facts. Let's go use our kind of litigator toolkit, right? It's undisputed that in a federal civil case, Donald Trump was found civilly liable for sexual assault, right? That's an undisputed fact. The Supreme Court rejected even hearing the petition for certiorari. It is also an undisputed fact that Donald Trump is on an audio tape saying that he grabs women by their genitals. He used another word. And he said, when you're rich, you get away with it. That is an undisputed fact that his voice is on the audio tape. And then he said, this is locker room talk. This is how guys speak. Let me be very clear as a guy. That's not locker room talk. I've been in locker rooms as an athlete. We don't talk like that. We don't say those things. That's talking about sexual assault. There's also audio of Donald Trump saying with his beauty pageants that he would go into the dressing rooms and he would look at the girls naked because when you own the pageants, by the way, red flag owning the pageants in the first place as a 45, 50-year-old man, but okay. You go in there and you can look at them. You can then talk about Mar-a-Lago being a place where Jeffrey Epstein recruited from. That's an undisputed fact. Virginia Giuffre. And so to me, I don't think we even have to veer Harry into hyperbolic rhetoric or anything. I think that you can basically say all of the things that Ben just said. Is that the guy you want to be in the Oval Office? Is that the guy you want to have their finger on the nuclear codes? Is that the guy? Oh, and then by the way, undisputed fact, they are not turning over 4 million documents now. And Todd Blanche, Donald Trump's personal criminal defense lawyer, is now the guy Trump wants to be the AG. And when he had a chance to show sympathy to the survivors, he re-traumatized them according to the survivors. I'll leave you with that, Harry. Anything you want to say before we go?
I want to say a couple things, and I could go on and on. But first, on that latter point, it's friggin' disgusting. Mimi Rocha, our colleague, has a good article out today talking about just what an affront it was. He was cursory and reserved and gave them nothing. He was obviously just checking a box for Tom Tillis, and they felt even further victimized. And it's that actual meeting that prompts the letter from them now to Senators Tillis and Cornyn saying, please vote against. And look, it's just, we need to, I'll add another, I'll put it in my opinion, but I think it should be an undisputed fact as well. That picture in the 50th birthday book that Trump sued for defamation over. My personal opinion is there's not much doubt of the provenance of that. Just in general, and I can point you out, you'll probably post this letter for the Meidas Mighty. There's a lot of stuff there where Epstein himself is going on, telling people now that Trump's going to be in. He's got a lot of stuff he has to do, etc. He's traveling internationally. It is enough, and this is the only point for now, that we need further investigation, and it could prove to be a shallow rabbit hole, or it could prove to be a whole nother kind of deep tunnel into some of the nefarious goings on with Jeffrey Epstein before he was charged and convicted and committed suicide. So the Raskin letter puts in a marker that I think we would all want, just the cause of justice would want to see carried out.
Everybody subscribe to the Talking Feds YouTube channel, the Talking Feds Substack, and the Talking Feds podcast. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to Harry Litman's YouTube channel, and instead of saying, hey, Harry, Ben sent us, I want you to say, WTF, Harry, WTF, because of the MeidasTouch new book, WTF America. So put Harry, write WTF in his comments, and that'll be our secret code to Harry. And Harry will be like, why are they saying WTF?
Oh, what's that about? I think I can figure it out. All right. Thanks, Ben.
Breaking news right now, my brothers and I wrote a book. It's called WTF America. And well, doesn't that just say it all? It comes out officially this October, but you can pre-order your copy today. Just scan the QR code or click the link in the description below.